Welcome to another episode of Back to the Burgh, presented by the Pod Hub Network. My guest today is from McKinless, PA, and he's made a name for himself as a Steelers beat writer for PGH Sports Now and Pro Football Network. And he's a broadcaster for WPTS Radio covering Pitt athletics. We're just going to go with that one because that's the third time I've done this. But please welcome Nick Farabaugh. Nick, what's up, buddy?
How you doing, man? Thanks for having me on.
I was better until I tried doing that intro.
Listen, I totally get the old intro. Yipes, man. Trust me.
Yeah, man. Hey, you're one of the few people that would get it, considering you're a broadcaster yourself. So
Exactly, man. Trust me. I've had the yips. I've had a brain freeze before in the middle of the game, and you're like, you just freeze for a second. It happens,
exactly.
Man. It happens.
My favorite is whenever you have the people. Well, you might not have to deal with this because you do radio, but I would do web streaming. You have people in the truck, and they're like, "Are you gonna talk? Are you gonna talk? Are you gonna talk?" And it's like, I'm trying to get back to it, It's like, quit putting pressure on me. So anyway, Nick, how are you, man? It's nice to finally meet you. I was telling you beforehand, you came on my radar a while back just with your football takes and your Steelers takes, and you're one of the guys that I consistently agree with on most takes. So that's how I found you.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm doing really well. Overall today, been a busy day. But man, I'm doing as about as well as I can this week. So
yeah, I was gonna say I saw this morning you were on the Fan. Who were you talking to on the Fan? I know you had like your own segment or whatever.
Yeah, I was talking to Cale Burgh over there.
Okay.
I work with him in PGH Sports Now. He was at WPTS too. We went on there, talked a lot about the draft, broke some things down. Go check that out if you see it. It's in podcast form as well. So if you missed it, I mean, it was at 5 a.m. So
5 a.m. on a Monday, and this is going on Friday.
5 a.m. on a Monday. So if you missed it, I ain't blaming you. Trust me. And that was a fun experience. And then today I also worked Pitt softball. So a lot of stuff.
Nice. I used to love calling softball, man. But hey, I mean, obviously this will come out on Friday, but from here on out, nobody should miss whatever this guy says. That's all I'm saying. So anyway, let's get into it. We're going to talk about your upbringing in McKinless. You're talking about the geography of Pittsburgh, and I don't know mine. So tell us what it's like growing up in McKinless.
Yeah, so this is a place. So everyone that knows Pittsburgh well will know where I went to high school. North Allegheny, the University of North Allegheny, I should say. People say that because our high schools are so big. I mean, literally, our classes are huge. Our graduating classes are. So I lived out here in the suburbs of Pittsburgh, north. I lived in McKinless, so I didn't live far out in Marshall or Wexford. If you're thinking of the district, if you live there, you know that really well. I lived out more towards the Ross part of it. Like I lived just off. I live close to McKnight Road. I think most people know McKnightmare, or Route 19, something like that. That's where I live. So living in McKinless, it was pretty good overall. I mean, listen, it's the suburbs. It's definitely a culture shock. I'll say this. Just from like the time you're small and everything, man. It's like everyone's everywhere because again, I went to NA. So I was with big groups my whole life. So when I'm putting more smaller groups, it's a little bit of an adjustment and all that. But overall, I mean, this place, it's pretty quiet. It's nice. And overall, man, I like the place. We got trails up here, not too far from my house, so I can go hiking anytime I want to do that. I live right by North Park, which I love. I love North Park out here. Even if you live in the city, it's my opinion, you should come out here to the North Hills to North Park. Like, it's beautiful. There's so much to do. My dad does it a lot. He lived in Greensburg when he was younger. So, and this is literally the reason why we live out here, actually. Like my dad loved North Park so much, and he said to my mom, we're moving out here because I like North Park, and we moved out here to McKinless. So yeah, that's kind of what it was like. I mean, big groups, a lot of friends, social groups. And if you would realize, North Allegheny is a very how do I say this? Crazy place, I guess. So just a lot going on. But overall, I mean, in McCandless, man, it was super nice.
Yeah, so like where would you and the boys hang out growing up? What was the thing to do?
Man, so McCandless, I mean, we don't have, I guess we don't have a ton of spots. We have our local sheets. Now that's always a good go-to.
Hey, Sheets is
We
always
call
a go-to.
we always have two or three sheets we go to. There's one right up on 19 there. Um, we have a few nice bowling alleys out here. A lot of people, including myself, we've gone out to the South Hills, hit up Top Golf out there. Always fun time to whack at some golf balls and hit it like a home run and then pimp that home run. Always love doing stuff like that. Um, you know, the go-to place in McCandless, there's there's not a ton of them. But we all Moe's right by the high school. That was definitely a go-to. We had a great Moe's. Literally, you could walk right across campus, right through this part of trees, and there's Moe's, and then we just walk in and get Moe's.
Nice.
Pretty awesome. Monticello's is out that way. A lot of people could go to Ichiban out that way in Wexford. So I mean, me and the boys, we would always, if we could, we would hit up a lot because I played a lot of sports growing up. So I mean, I would play football, baseball, basketball, whatever, soccer, all this stuff. So we would hit up. Again, North Park is a place where I would hit up a lot just because there's fields there. So we would go play some baseball, whatever, football. We would hit up sometimes some of the NA fields when they weren't being used. There's a ton of them right there. As I said, literally where I live, I mean, I can walk to some of these schools. So I really was privy to that. So there were a lot of places that I really hung out out here, but it's a lot of good places as well. So I love McCandless. It's nice, and there's a lot of places to choose from wherever you want to go.
Yeah, for sure, man. Now let's talk about you mentioned you played a lot of sports, playing at NA. We were talking about it before. You played with like Joey Porter Jr. You played with a bunch of people who are just dominant athletes. What was that like growing up with?
Dude, culture shock. Because listen, right now I am about 6 foot,
Yeah.
but I grew actually in college. So I'm in college still. I actually grew post high school. So when I was in high school, I was, I don't know, 5'7", 5'8". I was pretty compact and built like that. So I was always inside like a guard in the tackle. So you can imagine I'm facing most dudes, especially at NA. A lot of these guys are going to. We had a guy I played with, Josh Lugg. He went to Notre Dame. Derek Devine. He went to Virginia. I mean, these are both low linemen. Parker Titsworth. I played with him. Yes, that's literally his name. I'm not kidding.
I wasn't gonna say nothing.
Shout out to P Titty, our legend. He went viral actually on Barstool Sports a little bit
Oh,
ago
no way.
for that last name. He's
That's
playing at
crazy.
Ohio right now. So that's my guy. Shout out to him. I played with a lot of guys that went to like Ivy League. Jake Lugg as well. A lot of Ivy League recruits. John Varzel, he went to Pitt. There's so many guys that I played with. Again, Joey Porter Jr. is a guy. Khalil Dinkins, he's going to Penn State. I didn't really play with him a ton, but I've seen what he does, and it's, trust me, he's going to be a good one. I've just played with so many guys, and I've been around, and this is just in multiple sports. I mean, I've been around athletes, and I also worked for the journalists. Like I was a journalist in high school. I was a sports director for our high school newspaper,
Oh, nice.
and just as a byproduct of that, I would also go out and cover other sports. So I saw people, I saw top volleyball recruits that we have because our girls volleyball team is really good. I've seen Aid. I don't know if you know who Aiden Owens is. I mean, this is a guy. He's a top decathlete. Really, really like highly like U.S. Olympic
Yeah.
type deal. So I've seen these guys, and I mean, it's just a shell shock. And I was never up to their level. Like hell, I was too small. I was just, I mean, I tried, I never did. I was more brains than I was brawn, and I mean, we had this dude. I remember my freshman year. It was in practice. I was playing at the end. I was just a scout team dude. We had if he's listened to this, we had our right tackle. His name's Elijah Boyd. He's playing at I think IUP right now. He comes in and he's pulling on me, and I'm the base end. I mean, I'm the kick out guy. He just comes in like a freight train, and I'm like 5'4", like in my freshman year. I was small, man. And he just runs right through me. I mean, the wind was knocked out of me for a good few minutes. Like for real, like that stuff was crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. I mean, I was never great at football, baseball, whatever. I was never this super athletic standout dude. Like you mean you talked about your athletic career. You far surpassed my heights, brother. So, you
Hey
know,
man, I had 2 good games in the college. D3 scout was like, "Hey, I want that guy," and I lasted a year there. So not too great, but
hey,
it was
better
all
than
right.
what I did, man. So, I mean, I just saw firsthand what it was, and then I took
Yeah,
in the games, I guess you could say, from all the sports, especially football. Though I took in what I saw, what I observed, really deeply, and that's kind of what that helped me. I mean, it helped me in my career because I knew what to look for. I knew how this stuff worked, at least to a
yeah,
level. Again, obviously, high school is very different from college and NFL, but there are base principles there that I can apply across.
yeah.
And you
So
just
let's
know,
let's talk about you were in uh, high school newspaper. You were the lead journalist for sports. Did having these like high quality athletes around you in high school, did that help you a lot from that like starter level of high school to where you're at now, being a Steelers beat writer?
well, yeah, I mean, it definitely did because listen, when you cover a team like NA, and I mean this is a team. I mean, I covered the swimming team, and this is I covered them a little bit, and this was the year that they smashed a national record for the 4x100 relay.
Yeah.
Like this team, I think had, oh my lord, I can't even imagine. Just my class alone, the class of 2019, had at least 6 or 7 D1 recruits. I know Jack Wright, one of I interviewed him. This is a guy that has achieved levels of excellence. I
Yeah.
mean, he's going to Virginia right now, and he was only one of the great swimmers on that team. There's other guys. I think Jerry Chen went to Pitt. There's other people that went up other places, and that's both on the men's and women's side. So we had lots of D1 recruits on that side, and then I covered volleyball. And if you don't know anything about any volleyball, they had an absurd win streak then.
Oh yeah.
I think it was going 2 years at that point, and we were in the state title game. So like, listen, it teaches you, especially when you're writing about a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers, who is a storied franchise known for, levels of success and excellence. It teaches you certain angles to that, but just in general in writing, I mean, you learn how to craft stories because you have so many good stories at such a large because it is such, again, it's a large high school, so you have so many good stories there, and you have so many lessons you can take just from writing about these guys and girls. And then, you have lessons, you have just cohesive writing, how to craft a narrative and all this. It was so helpful. I mean, without that, I don't think I'd be anywhere close to where I was. I mean, that was truly the foundation being laid to where I am now.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like looking back, I was a part of my high school's like broadcast team. Like all we did was make like SNL style skits. So it was nothing like you were doing. Like our newspaper really didn't do that either. It was very small. Like we went to a small school, Beaver area. It wasn't that big. We were double A for how long? I don't even know what they are now because Whipple screwed all that up. But but yeah, it's like you got some really good experience from the get-go. Like you're literally covering NA, one of the biggest schools in the area. You could have got an internship out of high school probably to go to like the Post Gazette or the Trib or whatever, just from that experience alone. So like to see you now and see you putting that towards your NFL coverage, your Steelers coverage, it's like I feel like a lot of people don't appreciate where a sports writer comes from, or they don't look into it.
listen, every sports writer, I think you can even a lot of broadcasters like Stephen A. Smith, Skip Bayless, all these guys have cut their teeth at high school usually.
Mm-hmm.
I know Stephen A. has for sure.
Yeah.
Like a lot of these guys you see on TV, if they're not a professional athlete, they have come from the ground up. So they have covered. Listen, you cover literally anything. I mean, you cover middle school stuff sometimes. Like that's legit.
Yeah.
You cover all this stuff. High school sports are of local interest, like big time local interest. Where
Especially in Western PA.
Exactly, especially in Western PA, where football is big, basketball, pretty much any sport is going to garner interest from a local crowd. So it's huge, and you understand how to write your stories and cover everything, because it's hard to cover sports at a high school level. Because once you get to the NFL and college, you have stats right there for you. You don't always have that, you don't always have an outlined roster. So you have to be much more attentive, detailed, organized. And that's key. It's what it really helps you. And then you have to build a network among those as well.
Yeah.
So it's so I guess intensive, and it really builds you out. So yeah, you have to cut your teeth somewhere. And I mean, whether that's at high school,
Yeah.
when you're in high school, or out of college, whatever, you have to cut your teeth somewhere. And I mean, that's where a lot of people are cutting their teeth. You just look at anyone. I mean, I think Mark Caboli covered high school for a while. I know there's a lot of people that cover the Steelers that have probably covered high school. So it's a thing, man.
Yeah, now you're mentioning a lot of names. Like obviously you got Stephen A., Skip Bayless. You brought up Mark Caboli. Who are the writers when you were in high school or even before that you looked up to and you were like, I want to write like that guy, or I want to work alongside that guy?
Man, so yeah, I mean, looking so first of all, just to preface this, if you aren't reading other journalists, you're doing it wrong. Just stealing stuff from them. Not stealing, I guess that's not the right.
Yeah, don't want you to get a
yeah.
copyright or a.
Well, not only do I not want to get that, you don't want to jack off someone's writing style, right? Like you want it to be your own.
Yeah.
You want it with the flavor of your own, but you want to implement techniques for others.
Yeah, exactly.
So people that I would read a lot of, Marcel Louis-Jacques, he's a Bills writer. So he's not a local guy, but he's a guy that I really watched, and I said, great storyteller, just natural. It was like it was in motion picture. Super great questions. As a journalist, a sports journalist specifically, he tosses these informative football questions, and he comes up with really good answers and really good stories. And you do the research, right? Like he's someone who taught me how to do the research, and then his writing is so vivid. He taught me how to be detailed in that.
Mm-hmm.
So he was the guy that I really read a lot of. Going back, who else did I read? On the film side of things, because I do a lot of film stuff.
Yeah.
So I do read a lot of film things. Dane Brugler from The Athletics, another guy. He's a draft guy. He's kind of the guy that pushed me towards being into something like the draft. At least he was the guy that I kind of him Daniel Jeremiah were two guys that I really looked at and said, well, maybe I want to write about that, or I want to give my thoughts, because I did have thoughts about it, and it was just a hobby at that point, not a job, but I did, and I read a lot of what they did, and I read how descriptive they were, what they did, the work they put into it, and I wanted to do it. And another guy, Nick Martin, he's a local guy. He used to write for Behind the Steel Curtain. Mm-hmm. And he's a guy I can't thank enough. I hope he's listening to this one, because he's a guy that really, he's the one that kickstarted the gears. And he also helped me land it was unpaid and everything like that. It was more of a cut my teeth thing. While I was writing about the high school stuff, I was also writing a little bit of Steelers content over there Behind the Steel Curtain for SB Nation. And it was because of him that he, I was able to do that. I was able to post some content, and he really inspired me to get out there and do it. So he's a guy as well. Now, listen, I didn't look up to a ton of people, at least on the writing side. because I also very much am heavily exploring broadcasting side of things.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
And I have a lot of guys over on that end. That I just listen to a ton of broadcasters. I mean, listen, you can take something from everyone. Gus Johnson, obviously, with how excited, how vivid he is. On the Kevin Harlan, I love him. I mean, outside of just his voice, I think I don't know how he does it. Like it's something other than just experience. He like warps everything perfectly. Like every single word is perfect. I don't know how he does it, but
Yeah.
I got to get that way somehow. And then
Dude, it's tough. We were just like I said at the beginning, I messed up the intro 3 times, and I was just like, we're just gonna go with it.
it's such a
And
skill,
for
man.
people to be able to just not have a mistake is pretty crazy.
Dude, it's like these pros, man. I mean, it's crazy. Mike Tirico's the same way.
Yeah, he's
Phenomenal,
amazing.
phenomenal
And
announcer.
I'd say Doc Emmerich, he makes mistakes, but he rolls with it.
I love him too. Bill Hillgrove, I think
Yeah.
he's a shining wizard of the Pittsburgh community. Really like what Bill Hillgrove did. Um, and also, I mean, just people I work close with. Like, I'll give him a shout out, Jason Earl. I work with him. He does a lot of stuff up at ACC Network where I worked. He also was in WPTS with me. He's one of the best announcers I know, like straight up. And I think, as a play-by-play, as a play-by-play guy, I mean, this is a dude that has the chance to become, one of those marquee names. Like he's organized. He taught me how to prep. People don't realize how much goes behind the scenes on this
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
Like just broadcasting the hours
And
of prep.
that's something I feel like I haven't talked about on this podcast yet. Is like I always talk about like, the work that goes into it, but I never go into detail what goes into it for broadcasters. Like people like I thought I was good at what I did, but whenever I looked at like other people who like were serious about this stuff, like that's what they wanted their career to be, they have literally pages upon pages upon pages of notes, and they're just able to pull it at will during a game, and like for people to be able to do that. And I think I was watching Doc Emmerich's documentary, and he would come to every game with like a binder this big full of crap that he could just pull at any time to talk about guys. That's why he'll say random things about what some player did in high school. And it's like the people that do that and they put that preparation in, that's who you're gonna know. And it's like that's what you're saying about your guy is like when you do that homework, it pays off.
It's so huge. Like you cannot be a good broadcaster without the homework, whether
Exactly.
that's play-by-play, color, and I don't care if you're doing TV or radio. Obviously, those are two very different formats and kind of how you do things. But listen, man, it paints a picture of the person, and listen, the game action of sports is a huge part of it, but so is the human interest part of it. Like just the people behind the jerseys. It's also a very big part of it, especially in TV. You're trying to tell a story, man. Like
Exactly. And
so
so the way that I look at it is like, excuse me, the way I look at it is you're like a Doc Emmerich. He is a journalist through your ears. Like he doesn't write. He's trying to tell a story to you while the game's going on. He's trying to make this whatever game. It could be the Calgary Flames versus Minnesota Wild, a game I don't care about. And the broadcaster, if they're good enough, they'll get you to care.
exactly right. Like everything you put in has to have some heightened sense, and this is why I draw from Mike Tirico so much because there is no, I truly believe there is no one better that announces NFL football at heightening a game than Mike Tirico because he knows exactly how to do it. Even if it's like the Jags versus, I don't know, the Giants, right? This is a guy that goes in there and still somehow ups the stakes. I don't know how he does it.
Yeah.
He's phenomenal at what he does, and his prep is so clear, so concise, and like you just look at what he does, man. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
My point of view, it's great. So yeah, there's so much work, and I mean, I've taken influence from all the guys I mentioned on both sides of the coin.
Yeah. So now we've started to talk about it, broadcasting WPTS. Let's talk about how you ended up at the University of Pittsburgh. What was your process of like, did you know you wanted to go to be a journalist? did you say, oh, I know I want to be a journalist, but I also want to be a broadcaster? What went into the decision of where you went to school?
Yeah, man, this thing started back eighth grade, I think. And I'll tell a little story on this one. So we were my sister was in marching band. So we're just driving down. I think it was Vets Day, I think. I don't know. I was in eighth grade at the time. Um, she didn't really know what she wanted to do for college. She was a junior at the time. So she was heavily in that process. I obviously had a lot of time before I needed to get into that. But I was talking with my mom, my dad. Um, and I didn't know what I was going to do either. I mean, I obviously love sports. I didn't know what the heck I was going to do though.
You're also an eighth grader. So.
Yeah, I was also in eighth grade, but like literally from eighth grade on, I knew I was going to be something in sports, broadcasting, journalist, whatever. And like my dad mentioned, oh, when I was not when I was your age, when I was, I don't know, my 20s or something, my dad literally, so he's from Greensburg in Pittsburgh, if you know where that is, and down a little bit outside downtown, but pretty much in the city. He's from there. He was there at Morningside. He went to Peabody High School. He did all this stuff. He was a really outstanding basketball point guard too, at Peabody. And he packed up his bags and moved to the West Coast, trying to essentially become full-time sports broadcaster, whatever, get into this field. Because he used to call games for like the community baseball games, and everyone used to always say, well, that's your future, like you got it. And he told me all that, and he's like, well, you should do it. And I was like, why? And I mean, it never crossed my mind I was not going to do anything else from that time on. And so at that point, when I went into my college search, I really started searching around. I was looking at places, I don't know, Syracuse, for example, Arizona State, Illinois, Northwestern, these elite programs for journalism. Now, the issue is obviously money is not grown everywhere. So I didn't want to be in a ton of debt. That is something that we have to deal with. It's a world, I just didn't, I want to, if I went to Syracuse, which I probably could have, I didn't want to, I would have been like 100K debt. It's not worth it. Like it's not. So I shortened my pool to a few colleges, Duquesne, Penn State, Ohio, basically these smaller, schools. And then I was like, well, I'm still definitely applying to Pitt. I grew up a Pitt fan. Like, I don't know. Just background, my dad went to Pitt. He was a huge Pitt fan. We've had season tickets since I was like 5, I think. So I've seen, I've gone to Pitt football games, Pitt basketball games for my whole life. So I've seen the ups and downs. I've seen, Aaron Donald, LaShawn McCoy, DeJuan Blair on the court. I've seen all of them. I've seen it all. So like Pitt was, no matter where I went to school, I was going to be a Pitt fan in some way. I mean, it wouldn't matter. But Pitt was what I grew up on. And so I was thinking, I didn't know if I was actually even going to get into that. I had to retake, I hate talking about this, ACT. I hate the SAT and the ACT. I can't stand them. I had to retake it. Yeah, and I did. And I had my score. I got in. And so why did I get into that? And like, why did I go to Pitt? I mean, first of all, Pitt is a place that is growing a broadcast curriculum faster than anyone else in the United States right now. Pitt Studios was something I was really interested in. I got to see it. It was huge, like for me, because I knew I would have these opportunities. I didn't know I would have we'll get into it later. I didn't know I would have the opportunities I did now. But like that was what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be a broadcaster or a journalist, and they didn't have explicit broadcasting or journalism, majors, but they did have the classes and everything. And I was like, well, I can do this and this and still keep other avenues open if I want to go into this. So basically Pitt was just it's the perfect array. First of all, I'm not far from my family at all.
Yeah.
2, it's not crazy expensive at all. Because my mom works at UPMC, so we get some help there. And it's a program that is continuing to get better. And the guy that runs it, Kevin Michael Smith, is phenomenal. And, he's given me so many opportunities. And so Pitt was just like natural, man. I mean, everything just lined up and I was like, well, I got to go to Pitt.
That's awesome. I wish I would have done my research on school and like actually cared about getting into college because I love where I went. I love Bethany College. I got the bison behind me. I love it. I'm glad I went there. I'm glad I got the experience. But it's like I see these programs. It's like I could have got into that school. I could have gone here. And it's like, why didn't I try harder? But it's like that. I always thank Bethany for pushing me to try harder. And now it's like looking back, it's like, oh, but it's like that's why I would love to go back to school just for that. Like if I could just go be in the studio for hours upon hours and all that stuff. Like I fall in love with it, man.
Hey man, I totally get it. Listen, my mom went
Just to
to school.
clarify, since my dad watches it, I do not want to go back to school. Don't think that, Jimbo. Don't think that, Jimbo. He's sitting in the corner here. That's his little standee. But yeah, Jimbo, don't worry. But yeah, no, it's like these all these programs around the area, and I wish I would have done my research as a kid. But yeah, we have so much good stuff. And I was gonna bring this up later after everything, but I had to ask you, have you heard of or been involved with Pitt Tonight?
I've heard of it. I haven't been explicitly involved with it, but I know
So
some people that work on the set. I definitely know Pit Tonight. Yes.
Pitt Tonight. Listen, whenever I think I was a sophomore or junior at Bethany, we heard about Pitt Tonight and we were like, we want to do something like this at Bethany. And we went and we hung out with those guys at Pitt Tonight. That it was like we were in a whole new world because they take it serious as hell. And it's like obviously a bigger school, you got more people to work on a production. And that's what it was, is it was a production. Like it wasn't like, oh, we'll show up at like 2 hours beforehand and we'll do a show. It was like, we're gonna show up at 11 in the morning, show starts at 7 p.m. Like it's a crazy thing. But I forget where I was even going with this. I was just curious if you knew about it. And if you
Yeah.
get involved, that's okay. Would you ever want to get involved with Pitt Tonight?
Man, I would think about it for sure. I mean, I would have to, I'm just so busy, man. Like I've
Yeah,
definitely
and it's everything they do is busy. It takes up their free time.
it takes up so much time with what I'm doing now and WPTS. Like I picked WPTS my senior year. I was like, I knew I wanted to do it. I knew Jason because he went to NA with
Okay.
me for a little bit, and I knew his brother as well. So I was like, well, I know what WPTS is. I'm gonna do that because I know I'm like, well, I want to do broadcasting, so that's easy to get in. So that's what I did. Although I knew of Pitt Tonight, and I knew like that thing was amazing. There's so many great things at Pitt in terms of that, man. But Pitt Tonight it
And
takes the
ones
next
that
level.
and it's there's a lot of stuff people don't even know about because I feel like no one knows about Pitt Tonight, and it's such an awesome experience. At least it was whenever I went. It was probably what 6 years ago now. Shit,
Oh,
6 years ago since
it's
I've
still
been.
great, man. It's still great. They put
They
out the
had
best product
the
possible.
host. The host was Jesse Irwin, and they
Yep.
did their big live show in the big auditorium. They had the band there. Like it was his finale because he was graduating, and it just the amount of production that went into that. Like literally, they had the marching band in the balconies, like playing music, and I was like, "Holy shit, this is awesome!" But yeah, I had to bring that up since you're a Pitt guy. Now let's get into WPTS. We were talking about it earlier, and okay, before I get into the ACC stuff, just tell me like what what do you guys do? Like what's the war room look like per se? You know, with all you guys in there.
ACC, boy. So this one is crazy. I mean, we have 3 control rooms
Yeah.
all spanned across each other, and we can do so many different shows out of these, right? I mean, we only need 1 control room for 1 show. Although with COVID, obviously, we're distanced in all 3 separate ones.
Yeah.
So there are about 100 million screens throughout with all of our different cameras, with all of our different outputs, with the audio, with the switchers, with all this. Now that a lot of that is probably broadcast lingo that people don't know, like what a switcher
Hey,
is,
but listen, I'm a nerd for it, so let's talk about
and
it.
like all of this stuff that we do. And there's obviously different positions, and we show up early, like early, usually sometimes as early as 7 hours beforehand. Because listen, that stuff you see on ACC Network. If you've watched a basketball game and you've ever seen things come off the scoreboard, just like a pop, we call it a pop. Um, and it's, I don't know, let's just do a Pitt guy because I know Pitt guys. Justin Champagny tonight, 20 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, something like that. But we do all of that stuff. We have to link it. So we have this elaborate data link system that we use too for it. And we have all these positions, but for specifically what I'm talking about is that's a bug. It's a bug call. We call it a scoreboard a bug.
Yeah.
Now you might be familiar with that. We call that a bug.
I deal with that every day at work.
Yeah, exactly. And we call that a bug operator. And then, we have the CG operator who makes these slabs, the lower thirds, the tombstones, the full screens, whatever. And then obviously you have the audio guy, you have 4, 5, 6 cams, you have the timeout coordinator, you have the producer, the associate producer, who basically is the head of graphics. And then you have the associate director, who's basically usually the head of tape and getting those promos, getting our spots in, communicating with the network, right? Like all this stuff. And then you also have, that's just the daily stuff. Like we pre-build graphics. We have elaborate Excel sheets that we put together that link to all of these. So, we can do that prior. There's so much we do just on the day of and a little bit before. And that's not even talking about how they built the darn thing. There are so many outputs. I think there's something over like 500 different connections throughout the whole building or something to put on these productions that we do, because now we're a part of ESPN and ACC network, and we have to be up to a certain standard. And there's so many different ones. And I think, I could go really deep into the audio stuff or whatever, because, you have to know it all. And,
yeah, since you're a radio guy mostly, so you know all about audio.
Yeah, and I know all about that. And there's the audio stuff, there's the video stuff that you do. There's these different keys. There's so much you can know about what ACC does, and you wouldn't even know how much goes behind the scenes. It's so elaborate, man. And I'm only my first year, so I don't even know as much as a lot of the people there do, and I'm certain I'll learn more over the next year.
You're just looking at it and you're like, this is gonna be a lot of work.
I've only started, man. I've only touched the tip of the iceberg in terms of what I want to do there too.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be doing more positions and all this stuff, man. It is very, very much in depth.
So now one of my bigger questions with the ACC stuff is, like we were talking about, it's kind of like an internship, but it's an internship you have for like 4 years. Now, my question is, do they have someone there from the ACC network, like a representative, kind of helping you guys along?
Well, basically, what ACC network is a branch of ESPN.
Mm-hmm.
So at every single college in the ACC, whether that's Pitt, Clemson, NC State, UNC, Duke, Notre Dame, even Notre Dame's included in that, Syracuse, whatever. All these schools, they have specific people that are heads of these schools. So we have a head of broadcast, an assistant of broadcast, a director of broadcast, right? And these are the people that help bring us up pretty much. They're usually 4 to 5 really high-ranking tenured people. They train us as students, and this is really cool because it's a Pitt student pipeline, essentially.
Yeah.
Because you have to think, once we graduate, a lot of us work.
You already have experience working for ESPN and ACC network.
Yeah, I know one of our guys who did a lot of our audio work and some other things. He just went up and became a producer at ESPN, literally the one in Bristol.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of that. So that's our system. I guess you can call them ACC reps, but they're basically trainers. Yeah. And every single one of them, this is the cool thing, every single one of them except one. And he's the guy that's been there the whole time, kind of since like the dark days of like the Big East. They all were students.
Nice.
All of them were. Now that's some really of that's cool. From, and by the way, this is the same for SEC Network, Big 12, Big 10, all of it's the same. So this is across all these networks, Pac-12 as well. So these are all ESPN syndicates, and they're all pretty much student training programs, and they open up the world of broadcasting to you, and you get trained in everything, whatever you want. By the way, you can literally approach them and ask them and say, "Hey, I want to do this," and you get opportunities, and that includes TV broadcasting opportunities if you want to call it on the air. Obviously, you have training that goes into these, but it's an opportunity just blast, and you're like, oh, but it's amazing for your career, man. It's a blessing to have.
Yeah. Hey, any college kids or late high school, seniors, juniors, if you guys want a job in that field, go to Pitt, go to an ACC school, SEC. That it's a pipeline, man. That's amazing that you have access to something like that.
It is, man.
Now, let's get back to you and your extracurriculars outside of school,
Mhm.
writing for Pittsburgh Sports Now and Pro Football Network. How did all that come about?
Yeah, man. The Pittsburgh Sports Now was really dope. I know Alan Saunders really well. I've known him for a little bit, especially since with my WPTS stuff, I see him around a lot there. And we've talked in the past, and what I really want to do, because before last year I was just blogging. And I was just doing film analysis. And yes, that's fun and all, and I love doing that. But I also wanted to I wanted to be able to like ask people questions and get credentialed and do all that, like do actual coverage. And I knew they could bring that. And Alan approached me and said, "Hey, you want to join us? We have an opening here at Steelers Now or Pittsburgh Sports Now." And that's kind of how that came about. I mean, I had a desire to be more credentialed, to get into the deep divings of journalistic things, because again, I had covered that stuff in high school. That was my element more so than just straight up blogging. So that was really amazing. And ever since then, I've had great opportunities this year to cover all these NFL draft pro days. I've covered a lot of Pitt press conferences, Steelers conferences. I mean, all these stuffs, right? Hopefully this year I'll be down in Latrobe. Let's hope a little bit. So, I get all these opportunities, man, and it's really dope. As far as Pro Football Network, I mean, that was something that I really egged for. I mean, I kind of, I wouldn't say I bombed their DMs. I would say with with my resume at the time. That was 2 years ago when I was just a dude. I wasn't even in college yet. When I was just a guy, and I really wanted to write for them because a lot of my friends were writing there, and they looked like a really cohesive upstart place. So I was like, can I do it? I don't care where. So they hired me I wanted to be, because the Steelers one was already taken. So I was like, I wanted to be a Titans one because it was open. They said, no, we don't have that one anymore, but you can write about the Vikings. So I ended up writing about the Vikings for a few months. And that was interesting because obviously they're a different team. It was a new challenge. And I had to learn the Vikings really well, which was interesting. But after a little bit of time, they wanted to take care of, I guess, go more to my strengths. So they opened up a new film room category. So I was in the film room. And then eventually I just moved permanently to draft from there. And I've been there ever since. I mean, we do so much work there. Weekly meetings to address our mock draft simulator, which you guys should check out because it's dope.
It is. I've used it. I don't know what I'm doing, but I've used the mock draft simulator. It is pretty awesome.
Yeah, man, we adjust that. The guys on the developing side have done so much coding, have done so much work there to make the mechanics as good as it can. You can trade with it, but we adjust rankings weekly. We adjust team needs weekly. We do so much weekly, and we take into account kind of what we're hearing and what's going on. I know we just had a problem where Jamar Chase was falling. We fixed that. We try to fix these weekly, and there's a lot of work that goes into it. And that's kind of, the king stuff. I write profiles. I do mock drafts. I release a 4-round mock draft every month. So that's really awesome as well. And, just so much work that goes into it behind the scenes that the guys really put a lot of work into. So that thing, I've been there as it's grown. I've been there 2 years now, actually. And that's something that has grown so much over time. I mean, man, when I was there, they didn't have Tony Pauline or Trey Wingo or Matt Tanner or none of these guys, Matt Williamson.
Yeah.
And now they do. And I mean, it's great to see the growth and just be a part of that. So that's awesome.
One thing about you, man, is just like, you're a go-getter. I fucking love it. You just have that mentality. Like, even when I was in high school, I wasn't thinking about reaching out to blogs. sure, I was a fan of Barstool Sports, but I was like, oh, I got to go to college first. I can't reach out to them. You're like, hey, Pro Football Network, I want to write for you. Like, you're like I assume like every day, every week, you're just busting into those DMs.
Yeah, man. I mean, I was trying to, and it eventually worked out. I mean,
That's something you don't see every day, especially in this day and age. That's awesome that you have that mentality.
Listen, man, the worst they can do is say no. I honestly and I do the same thing for any other opportunity or anything in life. Like, man, just go get it. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Be a go-getter. Take any opportunity you can, especially in the workplace. Like, man, just reach for any opportunity. I don't care if it's out of your comfort zone. Like, if I walk in one day to ACC Network and they say, hey, I want you to go on replay. I've never done replay for what it's worth. And this is a very complicated and tough job. I'm going to do it. I don't care. It's an opportunity, man. Like, take opportunities or reach out to opportunities, especially back that year, I would just reach out to dudes through the because I didn't have any connections at all in the NFL that year because I was a high school kid. So I would reach out to draft prospects in their Twitter DMs. I mean, I'm not even kidding. I would just ask them, can I interview you? And I landed a few interviews that way. And I mean, literally, man, I reached out to top prospects. I think I reached out to that year, DK Metcalf, Trace McSorley. I think I reached out to. I know I reached out to Devin Bush. I reached out to all these guys, and obviously I didn't get a response on most of them, but the few that I did, it was awesome. It was really dope.
Yeah, dude. Listen, I feel that grind too. Like, trying to get interviews for this show all the time. I go into those draft prospects DMs and stuff. Like, I think I went after Pitt guy. Who's the safety? Is it
Paris Ford?
Yeah, Paris Ford. I tried to get him. No response. And it's like, you just got to keep rolling with the punches. Just keep going.
Exactly, man. I mean, and there's no drawback to it, Best he can do is say, yeah, man, I'm down. And then you have Paris Ford on the podcast.
Exactly.
Right.
So now let's wrap this up talking about where do you see yourself going? Obviously, I believe you're a sophomore at Pitt.
Mm-hmm.
You got 2 more years ahead of you. What's the future look like for Nick Farabaugh?
Good question. I don't really know, man. I'm
just loving where you're at right now.
I like where I'm at because I have kind of all the spectrum still. Again, I'm a sophomore. I guess it's kind of like whatever comes to me. Kind of by my senior year, man. I will say this. I do like writing, but I think my love's more in broadcasting.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely exploring that side. The dream is to work at ESPN. I guess I kind of am right now, but I want to work.
You want to be there.
I want to be there. And
you want to. Oh, what's the saying? You want to be in the building where the bread's made or whatever.
Exactly. Something like that. I want to be there, man, and that's my dream. At this point, but I mean, I'm not gonna complain. If I end up at FS1 or hey, if I land a beat writing job, man, a full-time beat writing job, I'll do it. I don't care. I mean, I don't know where it's going to take me. So I'm just going to keep working hard, taking every opportunity I can. At this point, all I can do is continue to improve. And really, quite honestly, just personally, I'm just looking forward to where it takes me because I think, good things are ahead in the future, man. There's so many opportunities that are still to be gotten. So I'm really looking forward to it.
That's awesome. Are you a Capricorn?
I am not. Scorpio.
Okay. Because I had to ask because my girlfriend's always like, oh, you're a Capricorn. That's why you work so hard, blah, blah, blah. So man. I figured we got some of the same vibes here. I was like, oh, maybe he's a Capricorn.
Nah, I'm a Scorpio. I'm a Scorpio. And my girlfriend always tells me, that's why you should be more aggressive. You're a Scorpio. And I was like, astrology, really? We doing this?
Yeah, right. I'll let you do the astrology. I'll talk sports. That's all right, brother. Well, thank you for coming on back to the Burgh. It's been a pleasure. I love talking to you, man. Everybody go check out Nick on social media. He's all over Twitter. That's where I found him. That's where you'll probably enjoy him the most. But also check out his writing on Pittsburgh Sports Now. Check him out on Pro Football Network. And if you get the chance, I'm sure he's broadcasting the game on WPTS as well. So, Nick, once again, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me on, man. This was a fun discussion. Absolutely. Very fun.